Well, good evening. I'm here at 7:52 p.m. on Saturday, January the 2nd, and I'm making a screencast a recording, to help you get research done prior to returning to class on Tuesday. Hopefully you remember a few things from before the break, especially our lecture with Polly Buckingham. I'm going to take you through a few steps that hopefully get you to the point where you are finding articles and finding research. But remember, no matter what, if you have any questions at all, what you need to do is make sure you text me or email me, and or show up in our office hours on Monday, and we'll get you going. But again, the objective is going to be to find 4 articles, 4 resources, 4 sources by Tuesday. One of those sources has to be scholarly, and I'll show you what that means. And I'm going to be kind of walking you through the process. And I love research. I love finding things. And so hopefully this won't be too painful. To me, if I have a subject that I'm really interested in, then finding information about that subject is actually super satisfying. So I'm hoping that you have enough time and you have enough resources that you can do it. So let me show you how we're going to kind of begin. What you need to be able to remember is you need to be able to remember your research question. And it was put to us by Polly as a kind of a research should or should not question. And so for me, would be something like, should the district invest, I'll put it this way, fully fund K-12 arts education? That's the question. Should the district fully fund K-12 arts education? So pretty simple, right? The next thing that we need is we need to have some terms. And these are going to be some search terms. So we'll call these topic search terms or key terms, but we need some terms that we can use to find articles. So that's what we're looking for here. And so here's some of the ones that I have for my subject. Just look at my research question. I'm going to find a couple of them. So art education could be one of them. I can use high school or any of the schools. I have the word district. I have funding. There's a term, there's STEAM, which is STEM. You've heard science, technology, education, or engineering, mathematics, plus art. That's the STEAM part rather than just STEM. And so that's a good place to start. I've got some search terms that I can use and go from there. Now what I need to do is I need to begin doing the research. So just to remind you, remember this is how we get to the place where the research is going to be done. So it's ewu.edu, and I'm going to go back there and force my computer to use lowercase to obey me. And then we have, you're going to go to libraries, and that requires you to scroll to the bottom. And I'll post this document so you can find it again. Then you're going to go to research and help. And then you're going to go down to research guides. And I'm going to take you through this in just a second. I'll actually follow my own directions. You're going to go to English 101, 113, or 201. And then you're going to go to English 101 or 113. And then we're going to start by going to CQ Researcher. That's the first thing we're going to do. So let's just do that. All right, let's just go ahead and do that. So let me go here to here, and we'll just follow those directions. So ewu.edu, and we're going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm just going to follow my directions, and I'm going to go to libraries. And then I'm going to go to research and help. That's right here in the middle. And research guides. I'm going to scroll down to English 101, 113, or 201. 101 or 113, just follow the directions here. And then CQ Researcher. Now, before I click on CQ Researcher, remember that CQ Researcher is not scholarly. And I'm hoping that you remember, having done the tutorial for the library, that a scholarly resource generally is what's called peer-reviewed. It's been read by other people that are in the same academic area. They are characterized by having a big works cited or bibliography at the end. They refer in the text, the actual article will refer to other studies and research that's been done. They typically don't have a lot of pictures. They are usually pretty long. And they oftentimes begin with what's called an abstract. And an abstract is just a summary of the article. And it allows researchers to read quickly an overview of the whole thing rather than being forced to read 20 pages to find out whether it's going to be useful or not. So again, those are some of the key descriptions of a scholarly research. CQ Researcher is not scholarly, but it's very useful for getting background information. So I'm going to start with it. Some of you are going to have a hard time finding things in CQ Researcher. You may have to find a different kind of article to get some background information, but for me, it's a good way to begin. So I'm going to click on CQ Researcher. And I'm just going to type in one of my first search terms. I'm just going to type in art education, and we'll just see what comes up. For me, I really would like to see our district move from just having me as the only art teacher, but to having a specialist in the building that can teach art K-12, at least middle school and high school. So figuring out a way to get the district to do that, or even if they should, is one of the questions that I'm trying to find an answer to. So you'll notice that up here on the top right-hand side is a search area. And I just need to begin with that. There's tons and tons of things in this, and I just want to begin by doing that way. So I'm just going to start with art education. And I don't know what's going to pop up. I'm just going to start with looking at that. Now you'll notice it says education funding. The cost of education and school funding, that's kind of related. Civic education, monumental protests, economic clustering, none of these really look like what I want. Future of the book, that's kind of interesting. Well, I don't really see exactly what I want, but I do see, just in looking here at the topics, I see this topic called Art and Humanity. And Arts and Humanities is a topic that has a bunch of other articles underneath it. In other words, they've grouped together different research subjects, different types of articles into some big headings. And so maybe art education isn't the best way to begin, but arts and humanities could be. So I'm just going to click on arts and humanities because it looks like a subject title or a big grouping of subjects that might fit. So I'm just going to click on arts and humanities and we'll just see what pops up. So future of the book, that's the one that I had clicked on. But I do see funding the arts. Now that's closer to what I'm looking for because it's talking about money and it's talking about art rather than just funding schools in general. So I'm going to click on that, and it's only a couple of years old, 2017. So I mean, it's not that old. So I'm going to click on funding the arts, and let's just see what it comes up with. This is probably going to be about, yep, there it is, the government supporting artistic and cultural expression. Now that's not wrong because public schools is a government-funded thing. I mean, I'm paid by taxpayers. So I'm going to find out if there's anything in this. Now, I can see on the left-hand side all the sections: introduction, overview, background, current situation. It has a big bibliography. It has footnotes. It has the next step. That's kind of interesting. If I have to if I need to think about what a solution to my problem is going to be, that might be useful. But I'm just going to start by looking inside the article. So I'm just going to do Control F to search. So Control F. And I've got a spot here, right? And I'm just going to type in, high school. And there it is. I've got one. I've got the term high school appears in a section. If I scroll back, it's titled, Should Arts Education Be Restored? Look at that. That's exactly the subject that I'm looking at. This thing here, it talks about Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas. It was founded by Alice Walton. She was an heir to the Walmart fortune. That's interesting. And as part of their mission, they sponsor free field trips for school groups. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, this Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, now I might be interested in contacting them to find out exactly what they're all about. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go back to my Word document, and I'm just going to put them in. I'm just going to start creating a little list of some things that I could find some information out about. All right, so I'll come back to that. That's not something I'm going to do some research on right now, but I'm going to keep that. Now, what it says here is that some Arkansas schools, particularly schools that serve lower income students, that's like us, we have a high percentage of free and reduced lunch students, which means we're a lower income school. It says those schools have stopped taking trips to the museum. And this guy, J.P. Green, has said the museum analyzed its own data and found that, what does it say here? The more wealthy the school kids are, the more likely they are to take them up on these free field trips. It says it's a cruel irony because poor rural kids were the most enriched. Well, that's us. We're relatively poor economically, and we're rural. So that's exactly what my question is about. It goes on to say that the amount of classroom time and other resources devoted to arts education have been declining for years, especially during a particular period of time. Well, that's exactly what I'm writing about. It says 40% of secondary schools, that's a high school, we're a secondary school, they don't even have any required courses for arts for graduation, according to a study. Well, that's really interesting. There's a study that's looked at that. So now here's what I'm going to do. I can click on this right here, and it's going to give me a link to arts education of public elementary and secondary schools. So I'm just going to click on, I'm going to save this. I'm going to control copy that. I'm going to go back to my Word document, and I'm going to save that because that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? And in fact, just to see what happens, I'm going to click on this little tiny URL and see where this takes me. This tiny URL is going to take me to a PDF. I can see it up here in the top left, which is probably going to be a big report about funding of elementary and secondary schools. There it is, Arts Education, the National Center for Education Statistics. Arts education in public elementary and secondary schools. This is a big article from the U.S. Department of Education about the funding of schools. So if I just kind of keep scrolling down, I'm probably going to find not just acknowledgments, I'm going to probably find a summary or some sort of introduction which explains what this is all about. Table of contents. Elementary schools and teachers, secondary schools and teachers, a closer look at music education, visual arts education, that's what I'm doing. That's dance education, theater and drama, of course we have none. I've got a list of tables, a bunch of documents. Man, there's all kinds of data in this thing. Again, I'm not going to read this whole thing right now, but I am going to say this is a really big article that has a lot of information which could be really useful for me. So while I haven't actually even gotten to the article yet, just scrolling down, I can see that this is a very detailed report from the Department of Education, which discusses art education. There's the introduction, and I could read that introduction. It has links to other articles, but it goes on to say as to what extent do students receive instruction in the arts, under what conditions is this instruction provided, and what is the profile of arts education instructors. So this is a big study about educational backgrounds, professional development, teaching loads, and the ways that students benefit from arts instruction. So I'm going to save that. That's a pretty cool article. All right. So again, I'm just going to save that little link. Now I'm going to go down, and it says there's evidence that music education can boost IQ, says Stephen Holocaust, a research scientist. That's really interesting. He's from Johns Hopkins University. And he's done, it offers a wealth of skills that transfer to other subjects, such as mastering, self-directed learning. That's really cool. I'm going to click on that. The socio-emotional benefits of the arts. I want that. I'm going to want that article. So I'm just going to save that one as well. Control copy. And again, I'm just finding articles by reading the background here. That's all that I'm doing. I'm just reading and looking for ideas. And again, I can go to that URL if I want to. It's got a tiny URL, and I can find that article as well. So let's just do it. Let's just click on that. Here's the socio-emotional benefits of the arts. And this is a new mandate for arts education. And this big article is all about What does it say? It's got an introduction, executive summary. That's what I want to look at. So the William Penn Foundation. Ooh, William Penn Foundation, that sounds like that museum. I'm just going to click on that and save that one as well. Again, the purpose here is to find things that I can look at for later, okay? So they have a big thing that they do, it looks like, with arts education. And it says, in this report, we argue that there is an evolving and compelling mandate for investing in arts education based on the equitable distribution of educational opportunities and how these opportunities can foster not only students' arts learning, but their socio-emotional development. And that is really important because this talks about equitable distribution. What's fair, right? Districts with lots of money can afford to hire specialists and give students arts education, but districts like ours, we don't. We have one teacher, myself, who teaches one period for one part of the year. So I'm not going to read this whole article, but I am going to say this is how you're doing research. This is 58 pages long. I'm not going to print this, but I would like to look at it and see whether it's going to provide me with some background. Again, I'm looking for information that will help me answer my question. Should the district invest in a fully funded K-12 arts education? Okay, so I'm just going to keep on going here, and I'm looking down here. It's got some, so here's another study by James Catterall. He's from the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. And he said that lower income students who attended schools with rich arts programming tended to perform better in terms of grades in school and future college attendance. That's also really important. So I'm going to click on that. This is from it looks like it's from a book because it doesn't have any information about an article and it doesn't have a URL. It just says 2009. So there was a book called Doing Well and Doing Good by Doing Art, a 12-year longitudinal study of arts education. Okay, that's a big deal. A longitudinal study doesn't sound like something other than a big word, but what it does mean is that somebody went out there and did a ton of research on schools all across the country. A longitudinal study is like looking at a whole bunch of other studies to see what the findings were. So I'm going to stop at that. This is obviously really good. There are all kinds of information about districts. There's a bunch of other things about No Child Left Behind. Does arts promote economic growth? A lot of stuff that's provided in here. The only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click down. I'm going to go down to the bibliography. I'm just going to scroll down and see what else might be there. There's some reports and studies. There's that socio-emotional benefits of the arts. So there, it's already out there. So I'm good. I mean, I've got lots of stuff. And if I ever wanted to cite this itself, the actual CQ researcher, I can use this as one of my sources, right? It can be one of my 4. It's just not scholarly. You'll notice that it has the APA citation. I don't generally use APA. We generally use MLA, but that is a good place. But you'll notice it says right here, Cite Now. I'm just going to click on Cite Now, and see, there it is, MLA. It lists it right there. So I'm going to click on MLA. And there is how I would cite this. So I'm going to save this because if I choose to use this in my actual research, the CQ researcher article, then I can do that. So I'm just going to click Control Paste, and I'm just going to list this. This is the MLA. I'm just going to click. This is my MLA citation, right? So MLA citation for CQ researcher article. All right, so there it is. It's just there, and I've got it. So there the thing is. Okay, so that's the first step, doing some research. Now let's go look for some articles. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'm actually just going to go back here to the topic generation. I'm going to look at finding articles. So I've done some background reading. All right, that's the first step. Now I'm going to find some articles, and it's going to take me to something called Academic Search Complete. Now, I'm not going to go through this with you step by step. Well, I'm going to kind of do some of it step by step, but if you have not read this page, you need to, because this talks about, again, the difference between not scholarly and scholarly. It explains what do they mean by not scholarly and what do they mean by scholarly. So again, if I say you have to have one scholarly source, you've got to know the difference between the two, right? And now it gives you some really great search tips. And I'm going to follow these search tips to find some articles, okay? Now you'll notice that it says when I click on Academic Search Complete, it's going to bring me to a web page that looks like this, where it says EBSCOhost is green and blue, and I've got these boxes. Select a field option. Again, it's going to give you a bunch of different boxes, and it shows you how to do it. You put the phrase you want in quotes. You can use or between two different terms if you want both of them to be present. Either of them, to be present. You can use and if you want all the terms to be present. And so this is going to show you kind of how to go through and then how to narrow your results. And I'm going to show you that too. So again, the directions on this page are going to be really useful for you to use. The objective is to get 100 or fewer articles to review, to look at. Because if it's more than that, you just don't have enough time. So let's just do this. I'll show you. So this page, finding articles, you want to make sure you look at it. Academic Search Complete. Let's click on that and let's go for it. Let's just see what happens when I start looking for some articles. I've already found a bunch. Okay, I'm already having a ton of fun looking for information. So I'm just going to put in quotes, art education, end quote. And I'm just going to do a search. That's just one thing, okay? Let's see how many articles I get. I'm going to bet you it's going to be 10,000. 12,295. Look at that. 12,295, and the first one's not even in English. Okay, so I've got to limit this. I've got to start narrowing it down. So I'm going to use the next box, and I'm going to put in public schools. Now it already has popped up some terms, so I can use public schools or K-12 or elementary or middle school or high school. I like that. So that's going to give me a lot of different things. Okay, so I'm going to click on that one and let's search again. I had 12,300. Now I'm going to have about 2,000. 3,315. All right, so that's still way too many. So let's type in the word funding down here, and I've got budget or spending or finance. All right, I'll take all of those. So let's click on that and let's search again. So I'm trying to get down to articles that have to do with education for all kinds of schools. Ooh, look at that, 66. That's awesome. I've got fewer than 100. Now I can still limit it because I want full text, all right? I want full text. So I'm going to click on full text. That's automatically going to limit it because I don't want to have to ask for a copy of it. I want the full text stuff right here, okay? Now, I can also change my date. I can bring my date up if I want to, right here where it says from. I can just grab the little blue slider and slide it forward to say 2000, just to make sure that I've got pretty recent stuff. Now, I have not limited this to scholarly, right? You'll notice that over here on the left-hand side, I could click on this box, scholarly, but I haven't done that yet. I'm just looking at what's in here, okay? Now, this first article says the vulnerability of urban elementary schools arts programs. This is a case study. Now, it has HTML full text. I might want to look at that. I'm just going to scroll down and see what I have. I only have 28 now, and that's plenty. I can do this. The relative effects of school-level influences on resources for arts education. Interesting. Oh, this one's cool. Arts education is a human right. A renowned actor says access to the arts is crucial and shouldn't depend on a child's zip code. Look at that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, if it's an interview, it's probably not scholarly, but I want to look at it anyways, just for fun. Okay, so PDF full text. I've got that. This is going to be good. I'm going to click on the link. And it's going to take me to, hopefully, some subject terms. Hey, that's a cool one. Art and society. That's a great search term. I'm going to add that. I'll add that to my list. Art and society, right there. I can add it to another search term. That's a good search term to have. Again, the article provides you with a lot of really cool stuff. Now, it says it's an interview with the actress Alfre Woodward. Really? All right. I've never heard of Alfre Woodward, but all right, this looks good. I've got a PDF full text over here. I'm going to click on that, okay? Let's see what happens. So it should pop up here in a second. I should get an actual picture of the article. Here we go. Hey, I know her. I've seen her before. She was in one of the Marvel movies. She was the woman down in the is it Iron Man 3, where Tony Stark comes down in the basement, down that hallway, and meets the woman who puts the picture of her son who was killed. That's who she is. Alfre Woodward. That's not her name. Luke Cage. Yeah, it is Alfre Woodward. Okay, now I know who it is. All right, so that's her name. Awesome. That's great. There's a big article all about her. Now, I'm not going to read this right now, but I'm interested in it, and I want to save some information about it. So over here, I got a little yellow folder that says Add to Folder. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to add some information to a folder that I can then email to myself when I'm all done, okay? So I'm going to click on that, click on Add to Folder. There you go. And I'm just going to, everybody does art. Back in the 7th grade, it talks all about her. Look at her and all those kids that are there. I'm just kind of scrolling down. What impact do poverty and trauma have on students you mentor? It's all good. She said, it says former U.S. Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan said the lack of access to arts education in some high-need schools is a civil rights issue. That's a great subject. We're talking about how do we change the narrative that the arts are an add-on, that arts education is nice to have but doesn't amount to much more than playtime. Look at that. And then look at this. It says there's a 72-page document from the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities that you can find. And there's a little link like this right here. It's hard to see, but there's a little number 1. And over here on the right-hand side, there's a link to that. So I'm just going to copy this because I want to go look up that thing. This is a big document. It's all about, it says take it to your state legislature. It says your school district. The document is proof. Even if you aren't into the humanities, it says into the humanities and philosophical discussions of what arts can do for a human being. Those are the facts right there. If people want excellence in math and science scores and comprehension and attendance and behavior, they can see what happens when kids have access to arts in their schools. See, that's it. This is exactly the kind of thing that I want. So I'm going to go back to my Word document, and I'm going to send myself another link to this article because I really want to have as much information as I can, have access to it. I'm going to go back and look for it later. So there it is. I'll find that. It's got a link to it. I can find it whenever I have some more time. All right. But I'm going to find that thing a little bit later. Maybe if I have a couple minutes, I'll do that for fun. All right. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to that previous link because this is a great article. That's definitely going to be one that I could use. I like that. Let's go back and let's find my list of articles. And I'm going to limit it this time. I'm going to limit it to scholarly because I'm kind of curious about that. What would happen if I just do scholarly peer-reviewed? Updating. Now I'm down to 14. Nice. So, economic discussion of conflict between public education policies and common good arts in the United States. These are all really great. Teacher perspectives on No Child Left Behind, an iconoclast view of the National Endowment for the Arts. There's a lot of articles. I'm just going to click on one. I'm going to click on the vulnerability of urban elementary schools. I'll use one that has. Now let's do that one just to show you. Click on this. And it has some other search terms, subject terms. I've got an abstract right here. They're looking at one that says the purpose of the research was to investigate how one urban school district in Michigan eliminated its elementary arts specialist. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm interested in. Has a bunch of information about it. This has I can listen to it if I want to. Click on listen and probably has a computer reading it. I know the contents of it. What I generally do though, this is just for help. I don't want to read 50 pages of this thing. I want to know whether I want to use it. So I'm generally going to read the first few paragraphs, right? Up through here, probably not the review of selected literature, although I could. I'm going to read probably this discussion. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to probably go to the findings, right? If I click on the findings here, what did they find? Well, this is towards the end. This is after they've done all the research. In other words, I don't need to read all the interviews. I don't have to read everything that they did. I want to know what they found. I want to know the end of their research. I want to know the conclusions. And again, in reading this, I may discover that it's not exactly what I need, or it may only be part of it, right? So again, generally when you're reading a scholarly research article, you're going to look at the introduction after you look at the abstract first. If it looks like it might be useful, then look at the introduction, and then you probably want to go to the end and look at the findings or the conclusion, right? That's generally how it works. I did notice it says down here below, there's something that says implications and recommendations. That's also really useful, because if I end up having to write a paper where I discuss the possible solutions, I'm going to probably want that. So just looking at the left-hand side tells me some things like, again, there's the findings, decline in enrollment, school choice, discussion. That's a great section oftentimes. So this is the kind of thing I'm going to be looking for. So this would be a good example. So let's just say I want to use this. I'm going to add it to my folder. So that's in my folder. And then I'm going to look for one. I'm going to go back because I'm curious about this thing, this James Catterall, Doing Well and Doing Good by Doing Art. So if I found an article and I want to look for it, okay, and I want to look for this article, I'm just going to do it. So let's go for it. Let's see if I can find it. I'm going to start a new search, top left, and in quotes, I'm going to put the title of that book, okay? I'm going to put the title in. So in quotes, I'm going to put Doing Well by Doing Good by Doing Art. And let's see what pops up. Look at that. I've got a strange name. This doesn't say James Catterall, but it definitely has a link to that particular thing. So I'm going to, I've got a bunch of things in here, right? I'm going to click on the PDF. I'm going to click on this and see what it says. And I'm going to bet you it is a book review or a book study. And it is it's a book review. Look at it, says it right there, book review. I'm good to go. Well, that's good because this is going to be a much shorter version of having to read an entire book. So I'm going to find the PDF. There's the PDF full text. I'm going to click on that. And let's see what it brings up. It's going to bring up a PDF of a book review. Why do we want our children to learn about the arts? Look at that. It says it right there. That is awesome. It's exactly what I'm looking for. Why do we want them to sing and dance, to act and to paint? There are many possible answers to the question. The one values the arts for what they are as part of a civilized and educated way of life. And the other one is instrumental effects of the arts. Well, this is a really good thing. It says this guy, James Catterall, has devoted a substantial part of his career, I'm just reading, to investigating the relationship between involvement in the arts at school and what he calls doing well and doing good. See, this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to click on this again. I'm going to put it to my folder, and let's do this. Add it to my folder. Now, top right, folder, okay? So I'm going to click on this link, and it's going to pull up the things I've saved. And I'm going to email this to myself, okay? So I've got the arts education as a human right, doing well and doing good, and the vulnerability of urban elementary school arts. So again, I want to make sure I keep a record of all the stuff that I've done. I don't want to lose all this information. So I'm going to email it to myself. Right-hand side, email. I'm going to email it to dbushing there it is. There's my email address. And I'm going to click over here on the right-hand side. I want to send the citation. I want the works cited link as well. So I'm going to click citation format, and I'm just going to open this. I want MLA because that's what my works cited page is going to have to be. So I'm going to click on the MLA, Modern Language Association. I'm going to make a subject here. This is research links to articles. Awesome. That'll be helpful. And then I'm just going to send. And let's just see what happens here. I'm going to go to my inbox here in a second. Right now, my email says 518, so I'll see if it pops up. 519, when's it going to say 519? Waiting. Still waiting. Come on. Tick tock. Time is ticking. It's 8:26. I have to go home and go to bed. Oh, there it is. Links to articles. And look at it. There it is. I've got my work cited. All that information is right there. There's one of them. There's Oosterhouse Robert. There's another one of them. There's my Shaw. It's in MLA form. It's going to be great. And I've got links to everything. It's all right there. There's the research review. I've got the vulnerability. There's the case study. That's all there. That whole thing is sitting there. This is good stuff, guys. It's all there. And so now I don't have to go looking for it again if I don't want to. I can if I want to. I've got links to everything, right? I've got the easy proxy library. I mean, I've got it. I've got links to the articles. If I want to go back and look at them, I'm good to go. All right. So that is what that is really cool. This is really fun tonight. I had a great time looking for information. Your job is to do the exact same kind of thing. Is find information. If I make this a little bit smaller, look at everything that I did. I've got my links to my articles. I've got a link to a museum. I could contact them. I could probably find some authors of some of these articles and email addresses, and I can email them. What you want is you want 4. I have more than 4. I mean, I have way more than 4. And I've had a ton of fun looking for them. It didn't take us all evening. What you can do is just start digging. Start with CQ Researcher, just like I did. Find some links in there. Go look for those, and then go looking for finding articles in the Academic Search Complete. And again, it really is, though, about this. You have to have a great question, and you have to have some search terms. I mean, to be honest, that's where it's at. You've got to have this stuff if you want to find what you're looking for, right? And that's what I did. Had tons of fun. Guys, I am done. I am done with this lecture. I've had a ton of fun tonight showing you stuff, and hopefully you'll be able to find some things as well. Great job. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've kind of had fun watching me. I've had fun time doing it, and you'll see this here in just a second. I'm going to post it. Thanks a lot. Good night.